Looking for a fast-charging, ultra-responsive stylus for your iPad? Meet the 2X Fast Charge Active Stylus Pen, designed for 2018 to 2025 Apple iPads. Take your creativity and productivity to the next level. Click the link in the video description to shop now on Amazon.
We live in terrifying and uncertain times. This is why King Charles and Prince William are more important than ever. After the death of Queen Elizabeth II, the longest-serving monarch in our nation's history, it was widely expected the importance of the royal family would enter a slow but inevitable decline. Our late queen was special, and many believed any future monarch could never mean that much again. But it turns out that in this scary new world, the soft power of our monarchy is needed more than ever. When King Charles met Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky, fresh from his bruising humiliation in the Oval Office, it mattered. When the King, who is Canada's head of state, met Canadian representatives in Buckingham Palace this week and hailed a proud, resilient, and compassionate country, it mattered. And when Prince William meets British troops in Estonia next week to learn how they are bolstering NATO's eastern flank, it will matter. These events are not meaningless dates in the diary of the royal court. They do not change the world. But they do move the dial by sending a clear and unequivocal message to our friends and our enemies alike. This is who we are. This is what we still believe. This is what we stand for. These are the values we will fight for. When President Trump blithely talked about making Canada the 51st state of the USA, does the tango-tinted tyrant even know that King Charles is Canada's head of state? When Zelensky is ritually humiliated in the White House, does Donald understand that, to our king, the Ukrainian people are heroes? Perhaps he does now. In the great tide of history, did it matter a damn that King Charles and President Zelensky took tea together in Sandringham's saloon room? I strongly suspect that it did, because suddenly the pressure is all on Putin. Suddenly it looks like Russia seeks to prolong the war they started. Suddenly the MAGA White House stopped demanding that ungrateful Zelensky stand down as Ukraine's president. The murderous old thug in Moscow is not smiling now. We find ourselves living in uncertain and terrifying times. A poll by the More in Common Foundation found less than half of Britons, and only a quarter of French and Germans still see the USA as an ally. And with that mercurial, unpredictable POTUS in the White House, NATO's future and the defense of Europe feels far from certain. We find ourselves living in uncertain and terrifying times. But in the midst of all the global turbulence, the soft power of our royal family feels like a force for good. The king did not have to make time to meet the president of Ukraine. The Prince of Wales does not have to visit British troops in Estonia next week. They do it because this country still knows who its friends are, we still know what we believe, and we still understand the value of our freedom. The king meets Zelensky, and the prince meets the troops because, whatever Trump may believe, some things matter more than the next deal. We can all understand why the majority of Europeans now look at America as an unreliable partner. But an alliance that has ensured the peace and prosperity of the West cannot be broken by one rogue administration. And when the king honors President Trump on a second state visit to this country, America and the world will be reminded of the values we still share, and of the enduring and very real power of the British royal family. "Wow, that's beautiful," said Donald Trump, taking ownership of his new Tesla. So there is at least one satisfied customer for Elon Musk's EV, even if Donald has never been seen driving anything faster than a golf buggy. But sales of Tesla are down around the world. "We're worried just having a Tesla will suggest we're showing support for Trump," says one embarrassed owner, "and we don't want that." Musk has gone from saving the world from climate change with EVs to serving a president who has withdrawn the U.S. from the Paris Climate Agreement and removed national electric vehicle targets. The kind of people who own a Tesla, affluent, enlightened, anxious about environmental issues, are exactly the same people who don't want to be seen dead in one now. When George Clooney graced a red carpet in Adidas Forum Classic trainers, we were suddenly aware that the MAMITs, that's middle-aged men in trainers, walk among us. Clooney's Adidas got as much comment as his newly brown, Just for Men Barnett. But the trend for rich and famous men out on the town to eschew formal footwear for trainers while wearing a suit has been around for some time. Daniel Craig, Prince William, Jason Isaacs, Idris Elba, Nigel Farage, there is no major male icon that has not been a proud MAMIT in his day. But it was the ultimate male style icon, David Beckham, who has come closest to explaining the move towards sports footwear for formal occasions. When Queen Elizabeth died, Bex queued for 12 hours to see Her Majesty lying in state in Westminster Hall. While he was still in the queue, Bex was asked by a BBC reporter how his knees were feeling. "Knees are okay," he smiled. "It's the back and the feet." That confession from David Beckham will have rung a bell with every aging lad in the land. Formal footwear hurts. Women's high heels hurt even more, but the guys just don't have the female pain threshold. That's why you see all these middle-aged men in trainers. The last time I did BBC's Question Time, I wore a suit, shirt, tie, and white and gold Asics. It looked weird, but there was no way I was yomping to see Fiona Bruce in Wolverhampton in a pair of posh shoes. Middle-aged men in trainers is not a fashion trend. Once you are no longer a spring chicken, it's a necessity. Not because it's cool, but because it's comfy. Just ask George Clooney, 63. All the controversy around Disney's troubled production of Snow White is obscuring the most striking thing about the film. Gal Gadot as Snow White's evil stepmother steals the show. The former Wonder Woman is surely the fairest of them all. I don't recall evil stepmothers looking like that when I was a kid. Samir Shah, who is chairman of the BBC, reckons that Match of the Day would be improved by having less football and more analysis. Genius. Perhaps Mr. Shah could bring back Top of the Pops. But this time without all the music. The next 7 will be a man, revealed Amazon Studios, the new owners of the Bond franchise. That's controversial because eagle-eyed readers will recall that the last 7 was a woman. In No Time to Die, Daniel Craig's spy was retired and his 7 handle has been awarded to Nomi, played by Lashana Lynch. So I struggle to understand the anxiety that Amazon will make the world's favorite spy all modern and woke. Because he is already woke, dead woke. Having a woman as 7 was just the tip of the iceberg. The really jarring moment was when Ana de Armas rocked up as a Cuban CIA agent with all guns blazing, and a backless, braless dress slashed to the navel and the hip. And Craig's Bond deeply admired her professionalism. There was no romance, there was no sex. Craig's Bond hardly had a twinkle in his eye, as Ana de Armas rolled across the floor taking out the bad guys. James Bond looked at this vision, and gave no indication that he had even noticed that his Cuban colleague was rather attractive. Bond even got Ana to look away when he put on his tux. Oh, James. No Time to Die was a decent Bond film. But with that female 7, and the hot Cuban agent who never got an admiring glance from our hero, it was comically PC. Whatever Amazon inflict on James Bond, they can't possibly make him more of a woke wuss than he was in No Time to Die.